G'day, hey gang, Steve from I'm Enough Coaching, just jumping on to share with you what the why is all about. So very often we hear people saying the why is important, but why is the why important? And even more than that, how do we discover our why? So this is what I'm going to cover in this Facebook Live. So I've spoken with many of my clients, especially my new ones for 2022. And one of the conversations we have a lot is about the why. Why are you doing this? Why is it important to you? Why did you first have that thought? Now, if you've seen my new module, The Power to Create, we understand that everything starts with a thought. So let's start to go right back to the beginning when you first have your thought about the thing that you want to do, the new thing that you want to be able to do. It might be around starting a new habit. It might be around starting something like journaling or a gratitude diary or getting fit or eating more healthily or running a marathon or whatever it might be. You come back to your why. Why did you first think that that was a good idea? Now, before we get into discovering the why and really knocking it out of the park, let's talk about the why and why it's so important. So what I want you to imagine is a satellite that's sitting on top of a great big rocket ready to leave Earth to head off into space and then orbit around the Earth doing whatever this satellite's going to do. Now this satellite is about this big compared to the rocket, which is probably about this big. It's an inordinate amount of disproportion to get something so small up into space. But why? Well, a rocket is full of rocket fuel. Now, I know this isn't rocket science, but this is the principle behind our why. It takes a massive amount of energy to kickstart a why, to kickstart something new, to build a new habit. So what we need is we need a truckload of rocket fuel that's going to push us through the Earth's atmosphere until eventually we get into space. Now, when we get into space, that's where we've got the habit built, and it only takes a little bit of energy to go psh, psh, and fire something off, and to move without friction. I'm just thinking, I remember telling somebody this. So you imagine you're in space and you're in your spacesuit and you get a little cut or a nick in it and the gas leaks out. That's enough to propel you right across the entire universe. Why? Because once you start moving in space, there's no resistance. So this is what I mean by, you got this whacking great big rocket that we need to get into space to take our little astronaut or our little satellite into space. But when we're out there, it doesn't take too much effort. And that's where building a habit comes in, which kind of leads me to my new Habit Creator Journal. I don't know if you've ordered your copy yet, but here it is. If you want to get a copy, get amongst it. It's all about building habits. And I'm currently sharing lots of tips around building habits. So if we've got a very strong why, we're going to be able to push through those very difficult, tough times. And I'm sure you've experienced them where, it might be that you're going to the gym. I had this morning. I was at the gym at 6 o'clock this morning for a stretch class. Now, old Steve, lazy Steve, would have just gone, stuff it, I'm going to stay in bed. Do you know what? It's too difficult. Whereas my connected Steve, my more consciously thinking Steve, said, no, this is part of the routine. If you want to have a healthier lifestyle, if you want to be able to live longer, if you don't want to have pain when you're older, if you want to be able to recognize and have the benefits of all the hard work that you put in your younger years, later on in your life, you need to go now. Do you know what? I was out of bed. Gone. Driving down the road. So that's your why. So this is why it's important. Keep saying why, because it's important. This is why it's important, because it's your rocket fuel. So how do we get to a why? Well, I kind of gave you a little hint there with my thought pattern about getting out of bed this morning. So we go back to the original idea as to why we thought this was going to be worth the effort, why we thought this was going to be valuable to us. So when we can connect with that, then what we do is we go, why is that important? And we keep asking that question, why is that important? Why is that important? Why is that important? And we do that maybe 6, maybe even 10 times. Because every time you answer the question, you then ask yourself, well, but why is that important? Why is that important? So let's take something as simple as going to work. Let's say, for example, you work in hospitality. Rather than just getting up out of bed every morning and going, well, I've got to go to work because it pays money. It's not very inspiring, is it? It's more motivating. Remember, I don't know if you've heard about my talk about the difference between motivation and inspiration. Motivation is a moving away strategy. Inspiration is a moving toward. So what we want to do is we want to be inspired. We want to be inspired to go to work in retail. Did I say retail or hospitality? I can't remember. Okay, let's stick with hospitality. Okay. So what's the inspiration? Why do you want to go to work in hospitality? So if you say it's just to earn money, you go, but why is that important? Well, if I earn money, that means I can pay my bills. Okay, so why is that important? Well, if I can pay my bills, then I don't have so much stress. Okay, why is that important? Well, because if I'm less stressed, then I'll be able to have a better quality of life. Okay, why is that important? Well, because when I have a better quality of life, I'll be able to choose and do the things that I want to be able to do. Okay, but why is that important? Well, I like to feel that I'm in control of my life and that I'm driving my own bus. Okay, why is that important? Because I feel that I'm then in control and I can go where I want in my life. Okay, why is that important? And you just keep going and going and going until you get to a really big level. And as you can see, we've gone from just earning money to being in control of our life. I think that's a really good why. So if you start to think of it that way, all of a sudden you're going to jump out of bed and off you go. Perhaps it's like my one. I'll share with you my example of being able to be more healthy with my thinking, my eating and my lifestyle. Why? Well, because I'm doing all of this hard work to create a business, to be able to create a culture so that overall I can positively impact people. But the side effect of that is that I get paid to do this. Now, I've got to be able to work hard enough to be able to build up a retirement fund, because when I moved to Australia, I'm too late in life to really start up a super. So I'm building my own super. Why is that important to me? Well, that's important to me again because money gives me autonomy. It gives me control. Why is that important? Well, then I can start to have a nice retirement near the sea and be able to do all the things that I want to do. Why is that important? Because it's going to give me that sense of fulfillment and to be able to continue to do what I do, but not have to worry about getting paid for it. Why is that important? Well, because my mission, my wholehearted goal is to positively impact as many people as I can. Why is that important? Well, because I've got lots of information that I've learned during my life that I want to be able to share with people so that they don't have to go through the same tough times that I did. If I can help people avoid some potholes, why is that important? Well, because that then gives me that sense of fulfillment. Well, why is that important? Well, I know that the byproduct of fulfillment is happiness. Why is that important? Because when I'm happy, I'm open and I can share and I can give as much as I can. Bingo. That's my why. So I can be open and share as much as I can.
Something went wrong.
And
try again in a few seconds.
Don't you love Google? So that's why I've started to think about going healthy eating and living better. So can you see how we can build our why? We ask ourselves, why is that important? A minimum of 6 times, maybe 10, maybe even more. Okay, until you get to the level that you go, wow, that's my rocket fuel. Because then you load your rocket with that why. And when you're doing it tough, when you're having those tough days, and we all have them, and it's perfectly okay, but when we're having those tough days, guess what? That's where you return back to your rocket fuel, you light the switch, and off you go again. You're re-inspired. You can re-inspire yourself. So this is why it's important to be very clear on your why. If you're not clear on your why, you are literally just getting on the bus of life, going down, sitting at the back and just watching life go by. And I'm sure you sat on a bus and you've looked out the window for a little bit and then you got bored. That's what happens with life. I know. I spent 10 years of my life doing that. I wasted 10 years of my life. Now I live consciously and I'm connected with my why, and that means that I can push through and do the things that I want to be able to do, to achieve the great things that I want to be able to achieve and to have the wonderful relationships that I do. And it all comes down to building habits. This is a tip. This is one of the biggest tips I can give somebody around building a new habit. Make sure your why is so strong, nobody else can knock it down. Then what we can start to do is we can build the habit alongside our existing habits. And again, that's where this comes in. The Habit Creator Journal is designed for 3 months of journaling your habits alongside your existing habits. It also will help you build your self-esteem, your self-worth and your self-confidence, because you'll start to see the growth that's going on. And we've even included a tip in there for you to be able to measure where you are at the start of the 3 months and where you are at the end of the 3 months. And you'll see a massive difference if you follow through on your new habit. All right. Look, if you want a copy of that, they're available on Amazon. I've dropped the link into this post. So go and have a click. They're on sale at the moment. So take advantage of that because that sale won't be going on forever. All right. I hope that this has served you well, wherever you are in the world, whatever you're up to. We'll speak again soon. Until then, stay safe and take care. Toodaloo.